The trader said, "Pick anything you want." I thought my girls would choose candy or ribbon. Instead, my 6-year-old daughter, who hadn't spoken a word since her mother died, opened her mouth and said, "Papa, I want her." She pointed at the Apache woman tied to the cottonwood tree. And from that moment, my life was never the same. My name is Jedediah Harrow. Most folks call me Jed. I was 38 years old that summer, though I felt closer to 60. I'd fought at Gettysburg, survived Chickamauga, and buried more friends than any man should count. But nothing the war threw at me compared to raising 2 daughters alone on the Texas frontier. The morning we rode into Sagebrush Crossing started like any other. Dust in my throat. Sun already white hot by 8 o'clock. My girls sat in the wagon bed behind me, quiet as church mice. Emmy was 10. She had her mother's eyes sharp and fierce, the kind that could cut through a man's excuses like a cavalry saber. The frontier had already hardened her. She'd learned to load a Winchester before she learned to braid her own hair. Willa was 6. She used to laugh like spring water, bright and bubbling. But 2 years ago, when typhoid fever took my wife Lorena, something inside Willa went dark. She stopped laughing. Then she stopped talking altogether. 24 months of silence. Doctors said it was shock, said she'd come around eventually. She never did, until that day. Sagebrush Crossing wasn't much of a town. A general store, a saloon, a blacksmith, and a trading post run by Thaddeus Fletcher. Fletcher was a weasel in human skin, the kind of man who'd sell his own grandmother for the right price. I needed ammunition, salt, and medicine, maybe some fabric for Emmy's dresses. Fletcher spread his arms wide like we were old friends. "Mr. Harrow, pick anything you want. Your credit's good here." Emmy walked along the tables of goods, blankets, coffee, sugar. Nothing interested her. Willa stayed close to me. She always stayed close now, like she feared I'd disappear too. Then I noticed she wasn't looking at the goods. Her eyes had fixed on something across the clearing. I followed her gaze, and I saw her. The woman sat beneath a massive cottonwood tree, her back against the trunk, her hands bound with rope. Her face carried fading bruises. Her deerskin dress was torn at the shoulder, but her eyes held no defeat. They stared straight ahead with a dignity I recognized from soldiers who'd faced cannon fire without flinching. Fletcher noticed me looking. Mescalero Apache, found her after Comancheros hit a camp south of here. Nobody wants her. Folks fear Apache revenge. He shrugged. $10. She can cook and work. I turned away. Bringing an Apache woman home in this part of Texas meant trouble. But Willa had already climbed down from the wagon. My silent daughter walked across the dusty clearing like something invisible was pulling her forward. She stopped a few feet from the woman and stood there looking. The Apache woman turned her head slowly. Dark eyes met brown. 2 souls recognizing something words couldn't touch. Then Willa walked back to me. She tugged my sleeve, and when I looked down, she spoke. "Papa." My heart stopped dead. "Papa, she looks like how our house feels. 2 years of prayers, 2 years of begging God to let me hear my daughter's voice again." These were the words she chose. Emmy came running. She grabbed my hand.
You don't have to stay if you don't want to.
I'm not afraid to stay. I just need to know if this is a safe place.
And urgent. "Papa, we don't need blankets or sugar. We want her." Fletcher laughed. "Your girls want to adopt an Apache? You've lost your mind, Harrow." Maybe I had. I paid $15. Cut the ropes myself. The woman stood slowly, rubbing her wrists where the rope had bitten deep. She was tall, her movements controlled. I guessed her age at 28, maybe younger, but her eyes carried the weight of someone who lived through centuries of grief. "Why?" she asked. Her English was clear. "Why do you buy me?" I nodded toward Willa. Ask her. Willa stepped forward and placed her small hand in the woman's calloused palm. Don't be sad anymore. I'm sad too. We can be sad together. Something shifted in the woman's eyes. The hardness cracked. My name is Kaya, she said quietly. The ride home took 3 hours. The girls sat on either side of Kaya, and I listened to the first real conversation my family had shared in 2 years. Emmy peppered her with questions. Where was she from? Did she have family? Could she ride? Kaya answered in short sentences, her voice like water over smooth stones. Comancheros came when the moon was full. My husband died defending our lodge. My son, she paused, Ahanu, 5 winters old. He died in my arms while I ran. Emmy went quiet. Willa pressed closer. I killed 3 of them before they caught me, Kaya continued. Then they sold me. I kept my eyes on the road. I knew that kind of pain. I'd watched Lorena waste away for 3 weeks, powerless to save her. Some wounds don't heal. You just learn to carry them. When the ranch house appeared on the horizon, Kaya studied the land with a scout's eyes. Good land, good water. It was my wife's, I replied. She left it to the girls. That night, after the children slept, I sat on the porch cleaning my Colt Peacemaker. Stars scattered across the Texas sky like thrown diamonds. Kaya appeared in the doorway. You did not have to buy me. You did not have to bring me here. No, I didn't. Then why? I looked at the door behind which my daughter slept. For the first time in 2 years, Willa had drifted off without crying. My girls chose you, I said. They haven't chosen anything since their mother died. Kaya was quiet a long time. Then she sat on the porch steps. I owe you a life debt. I will repay it. I don't want debt. I want my daughters to heal. She looked at me then, really looked. And I saw respect. 3 weeks passed. The ranch transformed. Kaya worked without complaint. She rose before dawn and labored until dark, fixed fences I'd neglected, taught Emmy to track deer, showed Willa how to set rabbit snares. But the real change was in my daughters. Emmy smiled again, real smiles that reached her eyes. She followed Kaya everywhere, absorbing knowledge like dry, earth-soaking rain. And Willa began to speak, not much at first, a word here, a sentence there, always to Kaya. Something connected them that I couldn't name. Shared loss had forged an invisible bond. One night I walked past the girls' room and heard Kaya singing a mescalero lullaby. Emmy and Willa lay on either side of her, already drifting to sleep. I leaned against the hallway wall, chest tight. For 2 years I tried to be enough. Father and mother both. I'd failed in ways I couldn't admit. Kaya gave them something I couldn't. She understood their grief because she carried her own. That night I pulled Lorena's keepsake box from under the bed. Oak wood carved with flowers. Inside, her wedding ring, a lock of golden hair, her journal. I opened it to the final pages.
Do you still talk to your wife every night?
Yes. That way I don't forget who I used to be.
Jed, she'd written, I know I won't survive this fever. Don't be angry with me for leaving. I only ask one thing. Don't become a ghost. Our girls need a father who lives, not one who just exists. If you find someone who can love them the way I did, let yourself be happy. I give you permission. I give you my blessing. Emmy is strong, but still a child. She needs someone to lean on. Willa is sensitive. She needs someone who understands pain. You've been my whole world. Now be theirs. And when you're ready, let someone else into that world. I love you forever. Lorena. I sat until the candle burned to nothing. Lorena had given me permission before she died. I'd been too broken to accept it. The next afternoon, 5 riders appeared on the eastern horizon. I recognized the gray stallion with the white blaze before I saw the man. Cornelius Bartlett, Colt, Lorena's older brother, 42 years old and looking like 60. We'd fought on opposite sides of the war, Confederate on Union, but for Lorena's sake, we tolerated each other. When she died, he vanished. 3 years. Now he was back with 4 hard men behind him. Colt dismounted in front of the porch. His face was gaunt, eyes rimmed red. Whiskey and regret had carved deep lines into his skin. Jedediah Harrow, my brother-in-law, living on my sister's land. Your sister left this land to her daughters. The law is clear. His smile didn't reach his eyes. He glanced toward the window where Kaya watched. I heard you brought an Apache into my sister's home. This is my home. What happens inside is none of your concern. Colt laughed without humor. He nodded toward one of his riders, a man with cold blue eyes and a scar running temple to jaw. Dutch Kessler. You know that name? I knew it. Every frontiersman knew it. Dutch Kessler had 11 confirmed kills to his name. You have 1 week, Harrow. Pack up and leave. Take the girls if you want. Leave the Apache. Dutch has business with her kind. My hand moved toward my holster, and if I refuse, Dutch spoke for the first time. Quiet, bored. Then we bury you next to your wife. After they rode off, Kaya found me loading rifles. I will leave. I won't bring death to your home. Colt doesn't want you. He wants this land. You're just his excuse. She studied my face. You would fight your wife's brother? For a woman you barely know? I'm fighting for my family. You're part of that now. That night we sat on the porch together, watching stars wheel overhead. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Then Kaya broke the silence. Your wife, what was she like? I thought about the question. Kind, stubborn. She could make biscuits that melted in your mouth and arguments that made you surrender before you started. I almost smiled. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. You still love her. Always will. Kaya nodded slowly. That is good. The dead deserve to be remembered. She pulled a small bone pendant from inside her dress. A child's necklace. This belonged to Ahanu, my son. I sing to him every night so his spirit knows I have not forgotten. We sat in silence after that, 2 people carrying wounds that would never fully heal, but somehow sharing the weight made it lighter. The next morning, Ezra Tatum rode in from his ranch 2 miles north. 62 years old, a veteran of the Mexican War and the Civil War both. We'd served together at Gettysburg. He listened to my situation without interrupting. Dutch Kessler, he finally said. You know what Los Diablos is? I didn't. Mexican cartel, guns, whiskey, human cargo. Dutch works for them. If he's with your brother-in-law, it means Colt owes them money, a lot of it. Ezra took his Sharps rifle from the wall. Your wife, Lorena, brought me bread when my Martha was sick. I owe her a kindness. This is how I repay it. 3 nights before Colt's deadline, I woke to find Emmy's bed empty. My heart nearly stopped. Then I heard hoofbeats approaching from the east. Emmy rode in just before dawn, face pale but determined. Papa, Dutch isn't waiting. He's attacking tomorrow night.
If things get out of control, take the children and leave.
No. Family doesn't abandon each other.
New moon. I heard him tell his men. I grabbed her shoulders. You could have been killed. How did you even... Kaya taught me to track, to move quiet, to stay downwind. Emmy's jaw set firm. I'm not just a little girl anymore, Papa. Mama Lorena died. I won't lose Kaya, too. I pulled her close, fear and pride at war inside me. This wasn't my daughter anymore. This was a soldier. We had 1 day to prepare. Kaya dug shallow trenches and scattered cactus spines to slow charging horses. Ezra positioned himself in the loft with his Sharps, a rifle that could drop a man at 600 yards. I sent Emmy and Willa to the root cellar with food and water. I knelt before Emmy and pressed a 2-shot Derringer into her palm. Only if they get inside, understand? She nodded. I understand, Papa. Willa clung to Kaya's dress, tears streaming. You promise you won't leave? Kaya knelt and cupped my daughter's face. I promise. Now go with your sister. Be brave. The cellar door closed. The lock clicked. We waited. They came at 11 o'clock under a moonless sky. Dutch Kessler rode at the front with 8 men. Colt Bartlett was nowhere in sight. I'd learned later that Dutch had locked him in his own cabin. Los Diablos didn't trust men who hesitated. No warning, no negotiation. Ezra's sharps roared from the loft. 200 yards out, a rider fell. Before the body hit dirt, Ezra had reloaded. A second man dropped. Then hell broke loose. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. Smoke filled the air. I fired from the porch, Kaya from the window. 15 minutes, 4 dead. But Dutch and 4 others reached the barn's shadow. A bullet punched through the loft window. Ezra grunted and went down. I'm hit, out of Sharp's rounds. Dutch led 2 men through the back door. I met him in the kitchen, 10 feet apart, too close for aimed shots. We crashed together. Dutch was bigger, stronger, meaner. A man who'd killed a dozen times and expected to kill a dozen more. We hit the floor, wrestling, punching. His Bowie knife flashed. He got me on my back. The blade pressed against my throat. Die, Yankee, he whispered. Los Diablos sends regards. Kaya came out of the shadows like vengeance given form. She didn't use a gun. She used her grandfather's knife, the blade she'd carried since her village burned. First strike into Dutch's back. He screamed, released me. Second strike precise and surgical. The killing blow she'd learned from warriors who'd fought 100 battles. Dutch Kessler died on my kitchen floor. The remaining raiders saw their leader fall. They ran into darkness and never looked back. Dawn broke gray and cold. 6 bodies lay scattered around the ranch. Ezra sat on the porch, shoulder bandaged, drinking whiskey straight from the bottle. A single rider appeared from the east. Colt Bartlett. He came alone, hands visible, no weapon drawn. Dutch is dead, I said. Your men ran. It's over. Colt looked at the covered bodies. Dutch wasn't my ally. He was my jailer. Los Diablos owns me. Gambling debts. If I didn't deliver this ranch, they'd kill me. So you chose to take my home instead. I didn't see another way. He looked past me toward the window where Emmy and Willa watched. Lorena would be ashamed of me. She was always the good one. He pulled a tattered envelope from his coat. She wrote me this before she died. I never had courage to read it until last night. I recognized Lorena's handwriting. Colt, I know you're struggling. The war broke something inside you. But please, whatever happens, don't hurt Jed or the girls. They're all I leave behind. Watch over them.
I cannot promise you an easy life.
I don't need easy. I just need real.
Not with money, with kindness. They're going to need family. Your sister Lorena? Willa came outside before I could stop her. She walked up to her uncle and looked at him with clear brown eyes. Uncle Colt, is Mama Lorena angry with you? Colt knelt down. Tears streamed down his weathered face. Yes, sweetheart, I think she is. Willa placed her small hand on his cheek. Mama said we have to forgive people who are sorry. Are you sorry? His voice broke. More than I can say. Willa turned to me. Papa, let him go. Mama would want that. I looked at my daughter, 6 years old, silent for so long, and somehow wiser than any of us. Go, I told Colt. Leave Texas. Don't ever come back. He mounted his horse and paused. Take care of them, Harrow. You're a better man than I ever was. He rode toward the rising sun and disappeared. 1 month later, the ranch was repaired. Ezra came by to share coffee and old war stories. Life settled into something that felt like peace. One afternoon, Willa took Kaya's hand and led her to the big cottonwood at the pasture's edge. Kaya, will you be our mama? Kaya knelt, eyes glistening. I can never replace your mother, Lorena. Emmy stood beside her sister. We don't want you to replace her. We want you to be Kaya, the woman who sings us to sleep, who teaches us to track, who saved Papa. Willa squeezed Kaya's hand. I have two mamas. Mama Lorena in heaven? You here. That makes me the luckiest girl in the world. Kaya pulled both children into her arms. I watched from the porch, hand resting on the colt at my hip. Old habit, but today I let myself believe. Lorena gave me permission 2 years ago. My daughters chose the day they saw Kaya beneath that cottonwood tree. Finally, I gave myself permission too. I walked out to join them as the sun descended toward the western hills. Kaya looked up. No words needed. I sat beside her. My daughters pressed between us. We watched the sky turn gold and red and purple. Family. The word meant something different now. Not blood, not obligation, choice. We had chosen each other through blood and fire and loss, through grief that never heals and hope that refuses to die. That was enough. The trader had said, pick anything you want. My daughters didn't pick blankets or sugar or ribbon. They picked love, and love was all we ever needed.
The story leaves a profound lesson about choice, compassion, and the true meaning of family. In the harsh world of the frontier, where laws are fragile and people often live by guns, what saves the characters is not strength or power, but the ability to choose to do the right thing when it is most difficult. The man does not save the Apache woman out of duty, nor for personal gain, but because he listens to the purest voice within his family, the hearts of children who have suffered too much loss. That very purity reminds him that kindness needs no grand reason, only the courage to act. The story also shows that pain does not disappear with time, but people can learn to carry it together. Each character carries an unhealing wound. The father who lost his wife, the children who lost their mother, the woman who lost her husband, children, and homeland. What keeps them alive is not forgetting the pain, but acknowledging it and sharing it. When losses converge, they don't multiply despair, but instead create understanding. It is this understanding that heals what words, medicine, or time cannot. Another important lesson is that family is not defined solely by blood, but by choice and responsibility. The family in this story is formed by people not related by blood, yet they choose to protect each other, stay together, and put the safety and happiness of others above their own. It is a type of family stronger than any paperwork or law because it is built on actions, not titles. Finally, the story emphasizes that forgiveness and compassion are not weaknesses, but the greatest human strength. Forgiveness doesn't erase past mistakes, but it ends the cycle of hatred and allows the future to begin anew. In a world full of loss and violence, choosing to love is the most courageous act.